Dan here from Let's Talk Games. How are you all doing? Long time no see. This is a little video as sort of an update. Been a while since the boys and I have been able to get on screen. We're obviously constantly talking, but Jamie's got a lot of life stuff happening at the moment. Trying to rearrange life at the moment as well. He's promotion at work too, so he's just trying to organise himself through that. We have been trying to get on here for a couple of weeks now, but we just can never be all three of us on at the same time. So yeah, I thought I would just jump on because I had a little bit of time yeah, I'm probably the one with least life. So I thought I'd get on, do just a quick episode in terms of what I've been paying attention to and what I've been playing and looking at, and I thought I'd just jump on for a little bit and have a quick convo and get something out there, especially to those of you that do watch our videos when we put them out. Thought we needed to do something, so I thought I'd jump on and do something for you. All right. So as we always do with the podcast, what we've been playing. So I finished Horizon Forbidden West. I believe Jamie is still going through with it. Jumped on Elden Ring and he's got a lot of games going at the moment. But yeah, I finished Horizon Forbidden West. Loved it. Amazing game. Let's see. So I think it's a natural development of the first game. Things have changed a lot in the last 5 years, and I think Forbidden West a lot of games caught up to what the first Horizon was, and the second game I think has then gone beyond them, and in the next couple of years it'll be caught back up. I think probably. All right, let's talk about some negatives. I tend to focus on positives a lot of the time, but negatives, I think the game is just too big. Something I was worried about, and I'm glad I got through it. It gives you a lot more to do, which is cool because the things that you do in the game are cooler. There's a certain part of the game that makes it easier to get around, but yeah, it's a long trek to get places. And when I play Spider-Man or Ghost of Tsushima, I don't feel myself needing to fast travel around to get places. Like especially in Spider-Man, never had to because there's just so much. Even Ghost of Tsushima, particularly big, so you find to be able to just ride through that world, and it's so Horizon. It's like there's just so varied. It's not. There are areas where it's like, okay, that's the snowy area, that's a desert area, that's a jungle area. Like they have those areas, but they are kind of weaved out. Like you will run into different snow areas at different parts of the map and different desert areas. It's not giant big sections. So yeah, I the variation is good, but it's really, really big. And I think I beat the first game in about 40 hours. This one, I actually lost track of time. It had to have been like 70 to 80 hours. I feel like the amount of time I spent on this game was probably roughly what I did for Red Dead Redemption 2. Did a lot of the side quests. Early on, there was about 6 hours that I don't want to say wasted, but I was so concerned about doing the side quests that I probably needed to just go through a little bit of the main story, like get through like 3 main story missions, which open up so you can complete a lot more of the side quests. If that makes sense. I've been giving all this advice to my brother who's playing it at the moment, where I'm like, just don't feel like you got to do everything at once because so many things are made easier the more you go through into the story. But I really liked it. I don't want to get into too much spoilers. I think Aloy has journey in this story where I really like it. The story itself goes to places I did not think that this going to go. Um, One thing I will say, what I missed, and I can't remember if anyone watching this remembers back to when the first Horizon was ever announced. There was this little moment during the E3 demo where, like, she takes out one of the robot machines and she goes like, shh, 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 like treating it like a like it's a religious thing, you know. It's spiritual. Like, it treats it like an animal, and it's kind of that naivete to her, or naive, and I kind of missed that a little bit because here she's based off the events of the first game. Like, she's the savior, so suddenly she's become this Christ-like figure to everybody, and she just wants to do the job. It makes sense in progression of the story, but I think I kind of miss learning about the world. Here, she kind of knows everything about the world. An evolution of the character, which I still did like, especially towards the end, because at the start, you're kind of thinking, like, what are you doing? Like, just let people help you. And that's what I will say about this game compared to the first game. I think some of the characters in this second game are more memorable than the first game. I think from the first game, they pretty much brought over the only people that you would remember, and one of them, Val, I couldn't even remember from the first game. Erend, I could, but I remember them here, and then the new people that you meet. Yeah, I think I'm going to definitely remember them more in the future, especially going into what will inevitably be a third game. Yeah, so the story's good, the characters are good, the world is great. The side quests uh, put so much amazing effort into the side quests in this game compared to the first. The first game had a lot of just tracking. I remember doing a lot of tracking around and following trails, stuff like that. Here, it's much more varied. Stories are more varied. That just gives you a little bit more about this world. I really appreciated that. I remember when I played the first Horizon, and everyone went absolutely nuts about it, which I get. I've always said here that I think most people like the first game a lot more than I did, like even Jamie. But in that game, you know, even then, I was like, the facial animations were always not quite right, but you could see they were trying to do something different to make it more look a little bit more realistic, which other games weren't doing at that point. And so I appreciate it, but it would turn into a lot of times where they're moving their head in some general direction. It's not like an easy pattern to figure out. It's not like LA Noir or something back in the day where it was just the same thing over and over. But sometimes it did mean that, like, their eyes would just start looking in random directions, and it could be a bit off-putting. So what they've done here in the second game is it's the evolution of that. So you get still a little bit of that, but now it is, and I can't imagine they did this. I can't imagine that they did performance capture for all of these, like, side characters, but put in, like, full on little cutscenes when they're talking. Like, it's like, gone are the days of Mass Effect, Fallout, where there is just a character staring at you and just delivering dialogue. You know, it's I, it's pretty impressive. But after more and more conversations you have, like especially after 30 hours, you might start to see double ups here and there. But I think it's really impressive, like more impressive than other open world games that you play. Like, trying to think of another game that does it like that, and I really can't. And I think this is probably something that other games will catch up to in the next couple of years. But it was really cool to see here, and it definitely made listening to the side quests like more engaging. I was worried I wasn't ready to play a game yet, where it is okay. I'm going to sit and let this person tell me a story, blah blah blah. But because there's other things happening, because the scene feels dynamic, you're just more invested. And I was really, really impressed with that. The combat was always awesome. I thought it was, on the PlayStation exclusives in last gen, I had Horizon as the second best combat behind Ghost of Tsushima on PlayStation 4. And then I had part 2 in there somewhere. So it was always good, and they took a couple of things from the first game and just kind of gave it to you from the start. Like, you get your very long slide, which, like, as unrealistic as it is that you can slide for about 50 meters, it just feels so good out of there, sliding, aiming your arrow and everything. It's incredibly fun to do. I probably waited too long to start purchasing different bows and things, but get there in the end and you start finding your favorite bows and what you like to do. Yeah, really fun. I actually found in this game a couple of the weapons that I used in the first game all the time were kind of nerfed in this one. Not as available. Like, I used to use tripwires all the time in the first game. I just set up tripwires and then start the fight, and then they'd all be running into my tripwires and I'd be able to finish them off. Here, they'd only allow you to use 2 at a time. So, which, especially in some of these areas which are much bigger, I'm like, this is not going to give me enough time for my stealth. So I had to switch it up, and I used the rope caster a lot in the first game, and it is here in the second, but you get it quite late from remember playing it. Yeah, you get it quite late, and then I was already using up one, like my spikes and that, which are introduced into this. Anything that had explosive damage or tear damage, I would just using that, because it's the best way to take down especially the bigger enemies. So the combat was really good. I think when Jamie finishes, we'll probably talk about what we want out of a third game, but it's an extremely good job. I really do have to think about my PlayStation Studio rankings, what this does as Guerrilla as a team, because they've created another amazing game, proving from the first. That's one of my things, where when it's a movie or a game, the ones I tend to find, outstanding, or, movie, it's a 5 out of 5, not perfect, but it's where there's a game that gives me everything I want, but it also gives me something I never thought I wanted. And this one probably just falls just below that, where it's like it gave me everything that I wanted. Like, it met the expectations of what I thought it could be, and it hit them. But I wouldn't say it gave me anything that was. I did not think you could do that, or this franchise or this world would be able to do that. So I don't think it hit that point. But just an amazing game. I'm very happy. Very happy. So apart from that, I've been playing 2K and not much else really. But what I'll do is I'll move into a couple other things. So I'll go from what I've been playing to what I've been watching. Because a few weeks ago, and Jamie will talk about this, I think, next time, but I saw the Uncharted movie. I've actually seen it twice. Went with a bunch of friends of mine who I'd made play through the Uncharted games over the years since I've known them, last 10 years. I took my mum and dad on the second time, and it's a really fun movie. I probably put it, I really enjoyed the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider movie. I thought that was enjoyable. This movie was fun. Obviously, I'm a massive Uncharted fan, but I also have, I'd like to say, realistic expectations. I think a lot of people go into this not with the most open mind to be like, okay, I've played this game before, what can the movie do different? And even to answer that question, can't do much different. But what I will say is that it is an Uncharted movie. People try and say, oh, it's not an Uncharted movie. In terms of like the plot and the story and the beats, is very much an Uncharted movie. There's some twists in there that I actually didn't see coming, which was nice. But they all felt like they were out of that world and that universe. But it's definitely an Uncharted movie with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg as your leads. Didn't hate it. I think they had a good together. Like they had a good connection. The thing is that their repertoire between them, or word is, it's just not like the one from the game. Like this one is a little bit more ribbing at each other, whereas in the games, more Nate like trying to bring Sully along, be like, come on, you can do this, blah blah blah. This one's a little bit more going at each other, a little bit more confrontational, which worked in the movie. It's just a different look at it. I think I did a video before the movie came out in terms of like what I wanted to see, and one of the things was, people forget that Sully, very first game, Nathan thinks Sully might have betrayed him, and he ends up not spoilers, but like there was the idea that possibly this could happen, and I think they played into that in this first movie pretty good, because it's like, yeah, wait, he's not telling us everything, and I didn't mind that. I had a thought while watching this movie that the people making it probably only played Uncharted 4 and then watched YouTube clips of some of the other games, and we're like, well, we'll just cherry pick that, or we'll cherry pick that. As an example, takes a thing from Uncharted 2 where you start the movie kind of a scene 2/3 into the story, and then you flash back. That's something from Uncharted 2, and then we've all seen the clips of the plane thing from Uncharted 3, and have certain attire and things from the first Uncharted game, but mainly it's definitely taking from Uncharted 4, and with Sam, which I love Sam in Uncharted 4 as like the opposite to Drake. Like part of Uncharted 4, and I won't spoil a lot of it in case you haven't played it or you're planning to play it. When Sam comes into the picture, he's been gone for a long time, and therefore he's kind of been stuck in where he was when Nathan last saw him. And Nate has gone through so much by the time it gets to Uncharted 4 that you can see this parallel. It's like, oh yeah, this is what Nate used to be like, and this is where he is now, and how that affects Nathan and his relationship with Elena, and what is his brother and stuff like that. This first movie concentrates a little bit on Sam, and it seems like it might be setting up for more Sam in the future, and it's really hard because my theory with the Uncharted series has always been like the reason why I like Nathan Drake and Uncharted more than say Tomb Raider is because the people around Nate helps evolve who he is, and that's how you learn about him, and the interactions with all the characters is what makes it fun. The thing that I always had a problem with the reboot of the Tomb Raider games, and therefore it kind of went into the movie as well, which is like you don't care about any of the other people, so much so that when you go from the first game to the second game, there's one guy that follows, and kind of remember him from the first one, but he's kind of the only one there, and then they bring him onto the third, but she's always alone, and therefore it's harder to see how other people view her going from game to game, whereas in the Uncharted games, the more people you meet, the more you learn about Nate, whether it's his past or just learning from game to game and asking questions of why are we doing this and stuff like that. I mean, having Sam there, if he comes back, yeah, not 100% sold on that. And yeah, I do think they just kind of played Uncharted 4 and we're like, I think they're going to do a sequel. Still not. I don't think I'd be mad if the director came back, but also not attached to it. I think you could get someone else, maybe a director out there does enjoy the games and saw this movie and it's like, okay, well, that's what I got to work with. All right, I know what I would do with it. But we'll see. Will they bring? I'll leave maybe a more spoiler review with Jamie or something. But no, it's good. I would say another one. It's good. I don't know if it's the best video game movie ever. It might be. I don't know. I gotta watch more of them, to be honest. But anyway, let's move into some gaming topics that have been happening in the last few weeks. So, just this week, Max Payne remake from Remedy coming back. I remember playing Max Payne back in the day. I can't remember if it was Max Payne 1 or 2. I think it was 1. I really liked that game, and I remember getting stuck just after one of the like freaky sequences, but I love the whole mood of it. I love like the comic cut scenes that they had and the narrator and all that. I reckon with a remake you could do something just really cool with the noir stuff. I know people were getting a bit angry at Rockstar being involved, but in that, because Rockstar own the rights, so if you're going to get another Max Payne game, it has to be through them. I like that Remedy are coming back to do it. I think that's really cool. So essentially, Rockstar will just pay for the thing to happen. They'll give them a budget probably of what the Remedy games normally are. I think there was a couple of years ago where they talked about how Control, when got the numbers for Control and how it sold really well. Not only that, but they came way under budget for that game as well. So that's why it was really, really, really successful for them. Doing so much with this remake, Control 2, Alan Wake 2, and I think they're working on something else as well, Crossfire X or something like that. So they're just growing and growing, and good on them. That's cool. And I think from the announcement, what they also said was once like the marketing and all that had been paid off, Remedy would start to get cut in on royalties after the fact, and that's really good. Normally once a development team has been paid for the game, that's just it. So I think there's not much more really to say. I think it's going to be a nice little compilation. I might play it. This story also just gives me an opportunity just to say how Max Payne 3, which was not developed by Remedy, but I just think it's a very underrated game. Made me very depressed by the end of it, but I remember enjoying like just playing through it. Um, Made me want to go back and play the others, but at the time I couldn't. I think I do have Max Payne as a PlayStation 2 classic. Anyway, I'm very excited. I like that noir stuff, Asian, so it'll be good to play them again. And so I'm just going to bring up some Sony stories because that's all I talk about. There was the PlayStation Plus 3 tiered outlook. I don't have a lot to say on this. A lot of people get outraged over not very much comparison, and I understand comparison with Game Pass, but I really didn't. When I was looking at it, that's not really went through my head. Through my head was when it all got announced. I'm like, okay, so this is pretty much exactly as everything that was reported to us for the last few months between Jeff Grubb and Jason Schreier. I'm like, okay, well, they reported it, and that's what it was. So no surprises there. And just by default, the service, there is an opportunity for them to add more value for people if they want it, and if you don't want it, you just keep getting, which is probably what I'm going to do. I don't play a shit ton of games these days, so like a lot of people have been saying, it'll be interesting to see what games are in that second tier and then possibly in that third tier, but I just don't think I'd pay for that. I just don't play enough games per year that make that worth it. But a lot of people are very upset because it's not Game Pass, and I don't think Sony are going to do that until they have to, and they don't have to because they could sell every console they make. And I think Horizon Forbidden West has not sold as well as the previous one, maybe. But we also don't know. I assume their projections were higher, so maybe that's a little bit more of a disappointment. But they're also selling it at $70. So, well, yeah, everyone on PlayStation 5 that was buying for $70, so maybe that outweighs the fact that even though they sell as many, maybe they've made as much money. But yeah, I don't know. Too soon to really react to anything because essentially they just confirmed everything we knew. I wasn't expecting to be able to play PlayStation 3 games console or anything like that. I thought that's a tell from patents and things that they're out of way, but yeah, crazy thing that has affected them, putting in that chip in the PlayStation 3. But yeah, I don't have much to say. Chunt will probably have some Xbox gloating on that topic, but yeah, I just look at it as though I'm just going to keep paying what I'm paying and getting the 2 free games a month, and if I want to, I can add a couple more bucks per year if I want to play some other games, but I pretty much have all the games that I want to play. The other ones that I'm waiting for won't be on there anyway. So anyway, the last one was just the Sony talking about that they're going to make some more acquisitions. This is coming off purchasing Haven the other week, which is interesting. I think, yeah, having a studio in Canada is big for PlayStation, being the fact that they're a very weird company. It's a Japanese country, head office in the States that is run by people in Europe. So very global, and yeah, the fact that they weren't in Canada where all these other studios are, I don't need to repeat what podcasts and stuff over the week. But they said there's more acquisitions planned, and my thoughts on Sony's acquisitions has changed. When we heard about Bluepoint and last year and Housemarque, I was like, okay, well, these are companies they've had relationships with in the past, and games together and stuff like that, and that's where they're going to go. Since then, they've bought Bungie, and now this Haven. So the Bungie one clearly had to do with their plans regarding multiplayer systems and things like that, and also for IP. My assumption is Bungie, because Bungie are trying to get their, not just Destiny, but whatever other things they're working on to be more than just games. They want to have it in other things, and Sony can provide that for them, and they're going to get money off the IP. Makes sense. Haven one was interesting because I really do think most of it is based on Haven did all the hard work in setting up the studio. Sony gave them the money for one game. It was mentioned in an article that Sony even was saying, like, can we do 3 games? Like, can you make us 3 games? And they're like, let's just do 1. But now they've purchased them, they're probably going to grow even faster. But it's also a studio they've only been working for a year, and that kind of goes against what I thought, because I'm trying to think, like, who else will they purchase? And what I'm seeing, Bungie thing might throw this in my face, but I'm kind of sick of seeing everyone looking at, okay, they should go buy Square Enix or Capcom, and I'm like, I just don't see them purchasing publishers. Like, developers, sure. Publishers, I don't see. And even the Bungie one, which is weird because technically they are their own publisher and they're going to publish their own games. They're also technically not part of PlayStation Studios. They're part of Sony Interactive. But I just can't see them purchasing publishers. I can see them trying to find developers, but going off that basis of Bluepoint and Housemarque, there's not many left. All the second party partnerships that they had in the past are all finished. When you think of Quantic Dream, which are apparently possibly being bought out by NetEase, like, they're gone. Dawn, who made the Order 86, is gone. Supermassive have the 10-game deal with Bandai Namco. Then they just announced The Quarry, which has been published by 2K. So they're kind of just all over the shop. So technically, may be able to purchase them. But yeah, it's not so I don't know how many studios are left. I looked up, maybe it's like Camouflage, who did the Iron Man VR game. Like, maybe they want to bolster up their VR stocks a little bit, just have people working on that. And then Arrowhead Game Studios, who did Divers team. Whoever it's going to be, it's going to come out of a place where it's not like Bluepoint and it's not like Housemarque. I just don't think there are ones like that. I'm going to still hold on to my hope that they can get a team that can do some type of open world third person crime game, like a GTA clone kind of thing. Someone put it on Twitter, like, who would you want to purchase? My thing's always, I'd love them to buy Hangar 13 from 2K, which I don't think you could do, but like, buy Hangar 13 and let them either continue to make a Mafia game or make a new kind of game. We just don't have enough of those. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think there'll be more, definitely going to be more purchases this year. There's a plan that we're starting to see from Sony, but we don't see the whole thing yet. Might be wanting to purchase some of these other, like Deviation Studios, who are making the first-person shooter stuff, which they need. They need first-person shooters in their stock, in their library. They've left that kind of dormant since Killzone in 2013 at the launch of the PS4. So even though I don't play a lot of them, I think you do need them. And if they can put that single-player storytelling element in there, which a lot of first-person shooters lack at this point, it might actually be the thing that sets them apart, as well as having the online onslaught of multiplayer. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for me. I didn't tell the guys I was actually going to do this, so I'm just going to put this up. And hopefully we'll be on sooner rather than later. But we'll try and give you another update. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.